Council to order. I'd like to remind everybody to please silence your electronic devices, and if you would, please stand and join me in the invocation on the pledge. Lord, we ask your blessings on our country during the election tomorrow. Grant us wisdom to not allow factions to tear our country apart by the exercise of the very freedoms that make us great in the first place. Help us to relearn how to disagree without hatred, to debate ideas without malice, and to work for the common good without selfish motives. Help us to deserve the sacrifices made by our ancestors and to leave this country even better for future generations than it was when we inherited it. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. I don't know if anybody's here to address items 8A and 8B on the agenda. Those are
Your mic.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. Here, I've been talking to nobody this whole time. So if you are here to address items 8A or 8B on the agenda, those are the rezoning petitions for the homes on Rainbow Drive. Those items are being pulled tonight at the request of the petitioner, and it's my understanding that they'll come back at some future date. So you're welcome to stay with us if you're here to address those, but I don't want you to have to sit until those items are called. I want to tell you right now that they're pulled. So now, I see some new faces, and I don't know if you watch our council meetings or not. My hunch is probably not. But we have begun a tradition in light of our upcoming centennial that we begin our council meetings with an interesting historical or unique fact about Temple Terrace or our area. And we pass that duty around, and tonight it falls on Councilmember Chambers. So
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
You are it.
Okay, this is to talk about a couple past storms in Temple Terrace. Obviously, a few weeks ago we had a big one, but let me just tell you about two older ones. On Saturday, November 14th of 2015, it was either a huge storm or an unconfirmed small tornado that kind of went through the Terrace Arbor area and over Greco Middle School and caused a few trees down. But what it did was that Saturday night, at Greco was the Arts Festival. For 2 years, the Arts Festival moved from River Hills Park. It went to Greco's property. And that Saturday night, a lot of the displays were destroyed. And it caused the artists and the city to cancel Sunday's day of the Art Festival. That's the only time in the 51-year history, well, 50 years, 51's this year, history that the Art Festival had a day missing due to weather. But there was some minor damage. This is an official reading of a report from City Council from April 26, 1991. It says, yesterday at approximately 4 p.m., a tornado touched down approximately at Puritan and 50th Street, which is outside of our border, and traveled in a northeasterly direction through the River Hills Park area, dissipating in the vicinity of the north end of Florida College. Many of the hardest hit areas were along the river. No personal injury was reported. Relatively speaking, structural damage was limited. The hardest hit was Heritage Apartments, where at least 5 buildings had their roofs partially blown off. These units were evacuated for the evening. Sutton Hall at Florida College had cosmetic damage to the roof. However, the newly renovated basement had flooding through the window well areas, creating a safety hazard, and the building was also vacated for the night. River Hills Elementary School had a tree fall on one of its buildings. Various reports of minor damage to homes came from the area south of Bullard. Extensive tree damage occurred in the area south of Bullard, with River Hills Park the worst hit. Early estimates are between 200 and 300 trees were uprooted. Electricity was out throughout the night for half of the city. Police crews worked traffic patrols and all controlled intersections, and fire crews worked with TECO around the down power lines and assisted in evacuating Sutton Hall. Order was pretty much restored by 11 p.m. that night. So just a couple things comparing this tornado, which I think is the worst one we had in our city up until this time. Our Public Works Department estimates not 200 to 300 trees, but about 15,000 plus trees came down in our city. And most of us know power was out more than half a day here in our city. So there were a lot of, this storm was by far the biggest we've done, but we've had some other storms. So that's my fact. Maybe not fun, but it's a fact.
Thank you, Councilmember Chambers. So we have two presentations. The first one is from the Temple Terrace, concerning the Temple Terrace Arts Festival. And Temple Terrace Arts Council Vice President Sherry Donahue is here to explain. No stranger to this room. Welcome back.
Good evening, Sherry Donahue.
Does this give you flashbacks?
Nice to be here. We've been through that storm, and we all know that at some point, we're like, all right, what's the most important thing? No one said the art festival, except maybe James and myself and a couple other people in the room who are the members of the Art Council. So just to let you know why we think this is so important, and we're so grateful to the city for also thinking that it's important. Thank you, City Manager, for giving me your assurance there. Because of the council's blessings, the Arts Council is more than a fun event that happens once or twice a year. We are an economic stimulator. It costs $30,000 to put on this event, and all of that money goes back into the local economy. We're not farming it out anyplace other than right here in Temple Terrace. So we have, we're doing that. Of course, this year, you say to yourself, well, how are you going to pull this off? Well, with our partners, not only those who contribute financially, and our title sponsor this year is Coldwell Banker Realty CB Cares Foundation. Try to remember that one. They have been our generous title sponsor this year, but it also takes the partnership of the city. If it wasn't for the Parks and Recreation Department who jump in and work on this all year with us, and now this year, of course, Public Works and Streets, everybody had to get involved. And if you've driven down Woodmont Avenue a couple of weeks ago, you probably would have thought, well, they're not having it like we did the year we had to cancel. But everybody got on board, and they've taken care of it. It is changed, but it will go on. And we've also taken in artists from other storm-related festivals and given them a place to host, to show their wares. So, we can't say thank you enough, but we also can't just stand here and say thank you, because this is my moment, right, to say to people, we're open. Come and see us on Saturday, November 9th. And if you forget on the 9th, then come on the 10th, because we'll be there all day as well, from 10 to 4 at Woodmont Park. And I don't want to forget our other partner, because without them, we would have to cram everything into Woodmont Park. Thank you very much to the Temple Terrace Golf and Country Club for their gift of the fairway, which is, as you know, the majority of the real estate that we take up. So again, this is more than just a fun day. It's a signature event for our city, and it takes all of us. And there are so many people that it does take to put it on. And we're really happy that Milton did its damage, but we'll be just fine. So hope to see you there. Come on out. Don't forget, we have food trucks, we have entertainment. We have, on Sunday, we have a Veterans Day ceremony. So, there'll be something for everybody and something in everyone's budget. So we'll hope to see you there.
Thank you, Mrs. Donahue. Would you or Mr. Langfeld tell the public a little bit about the Veterans Celebration on Sunday morning, please? I don't know,
Please,
whichever one of you.
I defer to Mr. Langfeld, because they
Okay.
are the ones who did
That's
a
a
beautiful job of putting it together.
tremendous event that I'd like to invite people out to that as well.
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council. This year on Sunday, November 10th, the city will be hosting its annual recognition of our veterans at 11 a.m. at the Arts Festival. We have a great ceremony planned this year. Special thanks to the Police Department and the Fire Department for supplying their honor guards. USF is supplying some vocal talent to provide some music for the event, and we have a extremely dynamic and very interesting keynote speaker coming to talk this year. Mr. Daniel Stern, who heads up a group called Gray Bull Rescue, is coming to be our keynote speaker. He is a very, very dynamic and interesting man. He has a great story to tell, and I look forward to seeing the community out there to recognize all of the veterans around this area.
Thank you, Mr. Langfield. I'd just like to reiterate to the public, if you're going to the Arts Festival Sunday morning, just please try to make your way to the stage for the ceremony at 11 o'clock. It only takes 10 or 15 minutes, and it's well worth your time. It's always has a very dynamic speaker, and if you could just take a few minutes out of shopping to come over there, that'd be appreciated. So, thank you both.
Thank you. See you then.
Let's see you there. And our next presentation is from the Centennial Celebration Committee, and we have our chair, Nancy Hudson, here to explain. Hello.
Hey everyone, good evening. I have a little presentation here to kind of give you guys an update of where we are. So thank you again for the time. We have been continuing with our community involvement. This past September, we had a roundtable, President's Roundtable, where we had all the presidents from all the clubs come together so we could share all of the information and everything that we've been working on. And they also provided us with all of the events that they have coming for the coming year and which ones they intend to make part of the overall celebration. And I have a slide to share where we are, how far we are along with that as well. And then this November, we're going to have a special school-focused meeting where we talk to the leadership and the teachers and try to really involve the schools in Temple Terrace so that we make sure that they are all part of the celebration as well, either with a contest at the schools or some activities that they do, and just continue to work together with them. So that's still upcoming. I know this is super hard to read, and I'm sorry, but here's all of the activities we have scheduled. We are assuming that they will all want to be part of the celebration. These are the activities we have listed. They do need to fill out a form and be approved by the committee, sort of like we do for the 4th of July parade, just to be sure that they are appropriate for our overall celebration, and then they will be given the logo and so forth to use as part of their advertising for their event. Of course, we're working hard on our signature event, which we call River Jam, which will be on May 3rd, and it's from 10 to 6 p.m. It is at River Hills Park. It is a free overall community event. We will have some time on the stage for the mayor if you'd like to come, city council, any special dignitaries or speeches that we might have. That will be a stage full of music all day. Different bands are coming, including a headliner towards the end of the afternoon. We also plan on having a big club row so that all of the clubs in Temple Terrace can have a place where they can do an activity or share a craft and let the community know more about what they do and if they want to join in membership. But cupcakes for everyone, big community event. This is our big party. And this is one of the things that we just wanted to share today. It is probably time to pass this off to the city. We're a small little committee of trying really hard, but this is, the experts are in the city. And if we can have leisure services sort of own this event for us from here forward, we think that would be sort of a natural step. We are still working on our 5 murals that are going up in the city, and I'd really like to thank Corey Collins. She's been taking the lead on just sort of pulling all the pieces together for this. These are our 5 artists that we have selected. The stage that we're in right now is that they are doing their final designs, which they'll bring to the committee this month and next month for us to approve. Everything about the design and the final, we'll all get to put our input into it. And then those will be started in the city between January and May of next year. So by the time we have our May celebration, all of the murals will be completed. And as you see, one of them is a community event. So the artist will do the outlines, and then we'll be inviting all the community members to come and help us paint the mural all together as a community. We are still working on the historical timeline, and now we've gotten it down to 2 different versions. We will have a permanent version, so to speak, at the family complex, and that will be there throughout the year. Marissa Robinson is working hard on that. And then we're also going to have a traveling version that can go to any of the Centennial events. It can go to the library, it can come here, any place that we feel is an appropriate event or that needs to have the timeline for the year of 2025, and that will also be ready by January. So next steps, we do have those forms so that the events can be approved for our Centennial celebration. We also need some sponsors. We still need 3 more sponsors for the murals. 2 of them have been taken, but we still have 3 more to go, and we still need a title sponsor. So if I can share that with the community today, or any of you that may have a suggestion for us, we'd still love to try to find that. We'd love to put the title sponsor on the t-shirts that we're having made that have already been designed and are ready to go, and we'd love to get those printed by next month so that we can let people buy them for Christmas gifts. We have our meetings every Thursday, first Thursday of every month, so everyone's welcome to come and share ideas and participate. We'd love to have you. And we do have the house flags ready to be purchased. You can purchase those at the Recreation Center. They'll also be available at the Arts Festival and at the City booth and at the Centennial Information booth. So that is all I have. Are there any questions?
Councilmember Fernandez?
So I have a couple questions. For the various locations of art throughout the city, you said those would all be ready by the signature event.
Correct.
Is there some sort of plan for encouraging people to get to all the different places? Like, not a scavenger hunt per se, but
Yeah, we've definitely talked about that. And we've also talked about working with the pedestrian committee, one for the signature event, because there's a lot of parking there, but if we could make it a more walkable, bikeable situation and promote that, we think that that would be helpful. But we can definitely, we've talked about some sort of scavenger hunt historically as well, but also to make sure that people, we definitely feel like the murals are going to be drivers. They're going to be pretty spectacular, so people will want to go see them. We think people from outside the city will as well.
so, and then, well, on the scavenger hunt, at Greco, the PTA did put on, it was a bicycle scavenger hunt, but it had some historical clues in it. So we would be happy to share that information if you need anything along those lines.
Great.
Because I happen to have all of this stuff in my office.
Okay.
So anyway,
Great, thank you.
and then to coordinate with the clubs, how are you doing that? Like, how are you reaching out to the clubs to make sure that the coordination flows?
So our committee represents a membership in pretty much every one of the clubs. So they have taken responsibility for the clubs that they're a part of for communicating that information. We also have the email list from the President's Roundtable, which will be our next step, is to make sure that we've emailed out that form and that they know they have to fill it out in order to be considered an official event.
And then my last question is about the schools. So I know we have Temple Terrace Reads, that's in February this year, but, which is, pretty close proximity to this event. But are you planning to have the schools have any kind of participatory presence there? And if so, how are you coordinating that with them?
So I'm sorry I don't have the list with me today, but the team has worked on a list of potential activities that the schools could actually do as part of their schools, like an essay, decorated door contest. There's a whole list, but we didn't feel it was our place to dictate that. So that's why we're bringing all the schools and leadership together in November. We want to share our list and get their ideas, pick a couple that we can then assist with as far as financially, whether it's a prize or if supplies are needed or whatever, so that each school will have some sort of activity. But we were really focused on what they were going to do in the schools. Temple Terrace Reads, we'll make sure that it's part of that. We'll make sure that that's an official event. But I think we were more focused on how we could actually push it into the school.
That's it.
Any other questions? Brian, is it possible to zoom in on the flag that's on the podium? Just give us a second. That way everybody can kind of see the flag that you've mentioned it, and I'm staring at it, but I'm not sure everybody else can see it as well as I can. There we go. So this is the flag, and you said it's available for purchase at the rec center
It is, and it'll also be at the Arts Festival.
and at the art festival. Great. So we should have this all over our city.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Okay, next order of business is an appointment to the Historical Preservation Board. There's one, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, City Manager.
I could. I don't, in light of Ms. Hudson's presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed a step. Thank you. So, council, we've been asked to empower the city manager and staff to kind of jump in here a little bit now that the Centennial Committee has done the creative portion of thinking of what to do, but they now need staff help to make some of these things happen. So we, as a body, need to give the city manager the authority to now have staff engage with the committee and make some of these things happen.
I'll make that motion.
You need a resolution?
No, we just need a motion.
I'll move to empower the city manager to direct staff to take the necessary steps to implement the Centennial Committee's proposed activities.
Second.
Motion, second, discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, no nays. Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Now, we have an appointment to the Historical Preservation Board. There's one regular member vacancy and one alternate member appointment. There's one regular member and one alternate member vacancy on the Historic Preservation Board. The city received 2 applications, one from Janine Carrillo and one from Juan Carlos Perez Duthie. Mr. Carrillo has served as president of the Society for Medical Anthropology as well as editor of the Architectural Heritage Center. Mr. Perez Duthie wants to serve to defend the city's architectural history, promote the untapped potential of the city as an architecturally significant area, and educate residents about the values of our history and legacy. Council members, there are ballots in front of you. We will need everybody to vote, and then we will need 2 motions, one to appoint one of them to be the regular member, and then one to be the alternate member. They are, I don't know if either of them are here or not. Are either of the candidates here? Would you like to say a few words, sir? Sure. You don't have to, but you're welcome. Yeah. Well, welcome.
So, good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. First, I want to say thank you for expediting the pickup of the trees. That was terrific, the sanitation department and what you guys did. So I've lived here for 10 years now. And one of the reasons I moved to Temple Terrace was I fell in love with the architecture and the legacy. And when I came up from Miami, I said, I want to buy a 1950s house, a mid-century home, because I love that architecture and I love also how well built those houses are. And I see that every time there's a storm, you know, how great that architecture is. I think we have incredible potential to let our people outside our city know all the gems that we have. And I was so excited to hear about the Centennial Committee because it's really a great opportunity that time to really tell people about what we have here in the city. On a much larger scale, Palm Springs, for example, has this Modernism week that last year brought $68 million to the city, and over 100,000 people visited. So there is a lot to be gained from preserving history, like our legacy, and all the beauties that we have. And I'd like to, in any way, you know, it doesn't matter if it's a regular or alternate, I would just like to also collaborate with you guys. And that's it.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
The other candidate is not here. Okay. Okay, council members, if you would cast your votes, please. Now we need the Jeopardy music while she tabulates the votes. Hopefully this will go quicker tonight than it will tomorrow.
So Councilmember Schisler, Mayor Ross, and Councilmember Fernandez all voted for Juan Perez Duthie for the regular member. And the other 2 council members voted for Janine as the regular member. So we have 3 for 1.
Okay, so my understanding of the results is that Mr. Perez Duthie will be appointed as a regular member, and the other, I don't have her name in front of me now.
Yep.
She will be, Ms. Carrillo will be appointed as the alternate. Okay, so we need 2 motions based on that, council.
So I move to approve Mr. Perez Duthie as the regular member on the Historic Preservation Board.
Second.
Do we need the term?
Probably be good to,
For the term from November 4th, 2024 to November 7th, 2025, to fill an unexpired term.
2026, right?
It says on my,
2025 for that one, because it was unexpired.
yep.
The
The alternate
yes.
is the,
The unexpired term is 25, you're correct, yeah. Okay, so we have a motion. Did you have a second? Well, I think you better renew it because she added. Okay. Any discussion of that motion? If none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No nays. Thank you, Mr. Perez Duthie. We need another motion regarding the alternate.
You're on a roll, go ahead.
I move to approve Janine Curiel for the alternate position on the Historic Preservation Board for a term from November 4th, 2024 to November 7th, 2026.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No nays. Thank you both for your service and your volunteerism. I look forward to working with both of you. All right, council, has everybody reviewed the minutes from our October 15th meeting? And if so, is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion or corrections to the minutes? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No nays. Minutes are adopted. Okay, now we have persons wishing to be heard on items not listed on the agenda or items on the consent agenda. There are request forms to address the council in the back, on the back table in the council chambers. If you haven't already filled one out and you wish to address the council, please fill one out and provide it to the city clerk to my left. We do have a 30-minute time limit for the public comment section of our meeting. If it goes over that, we resume it at the end of our meeting so that we can get through our agenda. That rarely happens, but I like to read that once in a while, so if it does happen, people understand. There's a 3-minute time limit imposed on all members of the public. We do ask that speakers come from the podium and state their name and city of residence. We'd like to assure you that during public comment, we do, our staff, our city manager, and we do take the public comments very seriously. However, we don't usually address your issues at the time because we have to move on with the agenda. We do have council business, new business portion of the agenda later on. It's quite possible that your issues may be brought up under new business later on, or typically our staff will contact you directly, assuming that you've given us your contact information to follow up with you about your concerns. So I don't want you to think when we move on after the public comment that that's it and you just wasted your time coming here. There is a follow-up to this, but it doesn't always occur right now. Okay? So our first speaker is Mr. Kerry Keenan. Good evening, Mr. Keenan.
Yes, sir. Kerry Keenan, here in Temple Terrace. I live in Ballara Drive, 7804 Ballara Drive. It's in the Rolling Terrace subdivision down off of Temple Terrace Highway. Several of my neighbors are here. Also, a lot of us, our homes were flooded by the storm a few weeks ago. And Mayor Ross, you helped me fill sandbags. And I remember and I appreciate that very much. The sandbags didn't do the job, but I was very impressed. And again, to the council members, thank you for letting us speak and to ask for some help. I have lived there 18 years, over 18 years, and we've not been flooded. None of our homes have been flooded. And the two times that the water came up and through several of our yards onto Ballara Drive on the north side of our homes, or north side of the retention pond there on 78th and Temple Terrace Highway, there was 2 hurricanes. But there was pump failure, I believe. Check with your engineering and your public works folks. It was pump failure both times. And this time it did a lot of damage to our homes. And I'm just asking if we could look into this, investigate it thoroughly, and find a solution to this. Again, it completely went through our yards and into Ballara. I was knee deep, and I got a pretty high knee, knee deep in water as we waded out of our house. I have a special needs daughter. And my son lives in the same subdivision. He came over after the storm calmed some, and we walked out. But please, we're here to ask for a solution. We don't want to go through this again. We all are out of our homes right now. And my time's up. Oh, no, that's the yellow light. Again, Mayor and City Council, you guys have, it's been wonderful to be here in Temple Terrace. And we don't want to leave. We want to stay. But this problem has to be, the solution has to be discovered for this. One last thing. There was, in the first week of September, a flash flood, a terrible storm. We were out of town. We were in Kentucky, but the babysitter for our special needs child called and said the water's coming up on Bellara. You know, she didn't think she could pull her car out from our driveway. None of this was happening before the new subdivision there west of 78th Street. And I don't know, your engineers will know. Are there drainage coming into the same line that used to be ours into the river? Do they have priority now over our subdivision?
Right.
As the water, I don't know. I'm just asking, and again, whatever, I'm out, but
Yeah,
whatever help you all can be, we would absolutely appreciate it very much.
Fair enough, and we do have some answers and some questions too, so we will, but thank you, Mr. Keenan.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much for hearing us.
James Casey. Good evening, Mr. Casey.
Evening. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for the time. Longtime resident in this house at 7813 Bolera Drive since October of 1985. This is my 39th year. We had close to the situation that Milton gave us, flooding our houses. Got to be 10 years ago, maybe longer. I don't remember the storm name, but we had it pretty well in the streets. The pump didn't work in the detention pond. That had to be a warning to the city, and now we have a flood. And we're in some terrible situations. Most of us do not have flood insurance. So it's either FEMA and out of our pocket. I would like the city to consider some type of help, financial help, if it's possible. This seems to be a problem with Temple Terrace. In August 7, 2023, an article discussed a problem where it speaks about by unanimous vote at the August 1st, 2023 City Council meeting, plans have been approved to get the stormwater lift station back in optimal working condition. This is on 127th Avenue. Troy Tinch, the Director of Utilities for the city, presented 4 alternatives to the city and recommended 2 of them, which would essentially put a new pump package to get the system back to its previous standards. So there was a problem that was going on there too, like we had. This was avoidable, not unavoidable, avoidable. So please dig into this. This is a big problem for maybe 10 homes. 39 years. And here, this October was my 39th year, and we have a flood. So whatever you can do would be greatly appreciated. Oh, one thing not related to this, on the Arts Festival, the Sunday tribute to the veterans, many of us go to church on Sunday. And having the veteran recognition at 11 a.m., I go to church. I can't make it. I don't get out of church until 11:30, 12 o'clock. So for next year, please consider doing the Veterans Tribute at maybe 1 o'clock. That would be great. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Casey. Next is Joaquin Fernandez. Joaquin Fernandez. Joaquin.
Joaquin.
Joaquin. I'm sorry. I learned that over and over again, and I still goof it up. I'm sorry. Mr. Fernandez.
Joaquin Phoenix. That's how I got my name from. Good afternoon. I'm here like my neighbors. I live in Temple Terrace. My name is Joaquin Fernandez, I'm sorry. I live in 7806 Bolera Drive. I live in that property for 30 years. Never thought about have water inside my house. and happened that date. Around 10:30, we got a call from the neighbor saying, "Do you see the street?" We prepare our house. I got bought it out. We ready to ride the storm. I cannot see the street. I get out of the sofa, water was coming in already inside the house. Me and my wife, we're there trying to figure it out how we can get this water out. 3 days later, 3 days before this water coming into the house, I got a peacemaker put on me. So I hardly can do anything. So we sit it in there, we fight it, we sit it in there. There's nothing we can do. Power go off, so we say, okay, we'll be safe. Power come back on in 20 minutes. We got 4 inches of water going under the fridge. Sparks going everywhere. I had this thing put on me, I can hardly do anything. So it was real scary. And like I said, I love Temple Terrace. I've been living in Temple Terrace for 40 years. And hopefully you guys can figure out what's going on in that retention pond. Because at 5 o'clock, I called the city, I said, it's a lake in here. Nobody come in and do anything. So I made a phone call at 5 o'clock. 10:30, we got water inside the house. For 5 hours later, we got water in. If somebody can do something, please take care. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fernandez. Next, Mr. Loeb.
Charles Loeb, Terrace Park. First of all, I want to tell people how sorry I feel about their troubles. Secondly, I did want to make a comment about Hart. They were kind enough to do free bus service till October 21st. But mostly I want to talk about the November events coming up that are coming up. First of all, of course, obviously, you've already talked about Veterans Day, and I want to give a salute to the veterans and to the first responders and to the people that helped during the hurricane. I think they deserve it, and I want to do that right now. Of course, among the meetings that will be there on the 12th will be our Riders Club at 2 o'clock. So we're going to have our Riders Club meeting over there, which we have regularly on the second and fourth Mondays. Secondly, I do want to mention as a reminder, which I hope is still going to go on, that the National League of Cities later that week was originally scheduled to be going on. I hope that's going to continue to be on. You all have a lot to talk about, I think, and I hope it will be very productive. Of course, when I think about the National League of Cities, I think about the cities I used to live in, including especially North Miami Beach. The next item, of course, I want to mention is the library sale. Again, it's coming around on November 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. Again at the library, and it looks like people will really be interested from what I saw just this morning. And we always have a very good selection, and we had a good sale in July. Hopefully we'll have another good one in this coming month. And finally, I do want to make one other reminder, and that is about the TICO bills coming up in November. TICO does charge, for those people who don't know, TICO does charge by the day for a service charge, not just for the electric, rather than by the month. If we don't get service for the day, I think we shouldn't pay for service for the day. And I do intend, like Mayor Ross said on the 15th, to express my opinion in very great detail when I get my bill. But people do have to express for themselves, so they will get attention. So we'll get attention in the future. Hopefully it will do better service with TICO as far as I am concerned anyway. And keep in mind too that the power charges daily service is going to be up. Their plan is to put it up substantially next year and then even further in 26 and 27. So it is important that people with residential housing be prepared to really go after and let them know that if they don't give you service on the day they shouldn't expect you to pay for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Loeb. And our final speaker that has signed up so far is Mr. Matt Qualls. And Mr. Qualls, thank you for trading places so the other gentleman could speak.
Thank you for doing that. Thank you for your service. Thank you for listening to us. My name is Matt Qualls. I live at 7811 Belair Drive in Rolling Terrace. My wife and I have lived there for 24 years, longer than we've lived in any other home. We love it there. Our property is across the street from this detention pond at 78th Street and Temple Terrace Highway, which is intended, among other things, to keep our neighborhood from flooding. We discovered after living there a few years that our property is the lowest one in the neighborhood. We came to that conclusion due to the standing water that would back up from the drains immediately in front of our house after any big storm or hurricane. There have been several such events, and the pattern is always the same. The rain comes, the drains back up, the water rises, the emergency pump starts to drain a full retention pond, and then the power fails and the pump stops and the water continues to rise. The highest the water had come previously was halfway up my front lawn into my backyard when Irma came through in 2017. As in the past, when the water receded after 1 or 2 days, I would naively think the city will take care of it. But it was always the same pattern. The water department would respond after the water backed up, and they would get the reserve pump working to remove the surplus water that had flooded our streets. In hindsight, we should have gone higher up instead of just having the water department come and alleviate the immediate problem. We were not at home this time for Milton. We were coming back from a vacation. We learned early on from neighbors and our daughter that the retention pond had flooded our property, leaving 8 inches of water outside and 6 inches of water inside our home. My daughter used a neighbor's kayak in order to come and check our flooded home, and she was able to survey the damage and alert us to what had happened. We returned the next day after the storm to find our family and friends cutting and removing wet drywall, hauling out damaged appliances and furniture to the curbside, and trying to save what could be salvaged. The last 3 weeks has produced an emotional and financial toll, and we're just getting started putting the pieces back together. Our immediate goal is to be able to move back into our home, but we are weeks away from doing so. We did not renew our flood insurance 2 years ago when premiums tripled because we do not live in a floodplain, and we thought, again, naively, as it turns out, that our home is not vulnerable to flooding. We now know differently. I would draw one of two conclusions, and I'd say like the others, we're asking for your help, and thank you for listening. Either the infrastructure is in place to prevent such flooding and it was not managed correctly, or the infrastructure is not capable of preventing such flooding and we are still at jeopardy. We need to know which it is. We're fixing our homes. We're sitting ducks for the next storm if it happens again. And so please give that consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Qualls. Are there other members of the public who wish to address the council at this time? If not, City Manager, I'm not, I don't want to, this is as we all know, we know some of the answers to this, but not all of them. I'm not sure the best format, I know it's not here and now, but I think we should have some type of follow-up with these folks. I mean, we're thank you for coming. I mean, we knew that you existed out there, but thank you for coming here together to speak with us. So maybe you and I can talk tomorrow about the best way to get together with them. I know they're displaced right now, so I don't even know where they're living, but.
As long as we have their contact information.
Did everybody, I see, looks like everybody gave your email or a phone number or something, everybody did? Okay.
Yep, so we'll be able to get back in touch. And we are having an after-action meeting concerning how the hurricane and its impacts internally with staff in the upcoming weeks. So this will be one of the items. And the flooding, and I can appreciate what happened. As we've discussed here, the flooding was throughout the county. I mean, it was, and many of the staff were trying to pump down various ponds across the city throughout the storm. So it's a long conversation.
It is a long conversation, and we've had a lot of these conversations, but they haven't had the benefit of some of this, and I think they deserve that. So I don't know if you're out of town, but we will reach out to you. I do want you to know that we're aware of what happened out there. We were aware of it right away. We have some employees that are neighbors of yours, so we knew in real time what was going on. We are sympathetic to you. I don't want you to think that, we don't care. We don't, nobody cares. It's all over now and they've moved on. That is not the case. So let us have a chance to, I don't want to cheat you by doing 2 minutes later on in the meeting and have you sit here and you can't talk during that part of the meeting either. So I'd rather have some type of dialogue instead of just put something out, shooting from the hip. So let us reach out to you and see if we can set something up to meet with you, or at least have a conference to get with you to try to give you the answers you deserve. Okay? So thank you for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, has everybody reviewed the consent agenda? And if so, is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No nays. The consent agenda is adopted. Item 8A is pulled. Mr. Schoen, do we need to do anything? We already pulled it. We don't need to open anything. Item 8A is pulled from the agenda. Item 8B is pulled from the agenda. Item 8C is the first public hearing of a resolution adopting the final site plan for property located at Site B of the Woodstock Plaza plat, part of folio number 199-554-0732. And I will open the public hearing, and our city planner, Miranda Anaya, is here to explain. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. This is the first public hearing, first reading of SPR 2403. This is an aerial view of the subject property and surrounding area. To the north is Hillsborough County land. To the south are wetlands. To the east is vacant. And to the west is a convenience store and gas station. The red star shows the folio number 199-554-0732, but the subject property is only about half that size. And you can see that here on the general area map. It will be subdivided into 2 lots, as shown in the plan development master plan. The proposed acreage for the subject property is 1.01 acres, and the applicant is requesting a car wash establishment. A brief background about the property. The property is in Telecom Park, which is part of a Development of Regional Impact, DRI, and is subject to the Master Plan and Development Order. In addition, there was a plan development approved for this particular part of Telecom in 2017, and that's what you see here on the screen is the master plan. The PD was approved for 6 sites. Site A, which is the convenience store, approved up to 7,500 square feet, and sites A through F were approved up to 21,500 square feet, consisting of office, medical office, restaurant, and general retail uses. The subject property is Site B on the master plan. A total of 11 conditions were approved during that rezoning phase. In 2018, condition number 2 was modified to include automobile washing services as an approved use. Here's the site plan for the car wash. DRC has no issues with the site plan. The LDC doesn't have parking standards for a car wash or a similarly related use, so the applicant submitted a parking analysis, and they based that off of the car washes that the buyer owns. They took a couple and did an analysis based off of those. Staff has no objection to the parking proposal of 2 parking spaces and 21 self-service stations. According to the EPC, Lot A was approved for mitigation, which is the area in red, for 4.7 acres in the 1985 SwiftMud ERP permit. In 2017, environmental scientists conducted an on-site wetland delineation by GPS, and that was confirmed by SwiftMud. He delineated 5.94 acres, shown in yellow, and proposed that only 4 acres actually need to be impacted, which is the remaining wetlands shown on the plat. The applicant proposes 8 feet to the wetland line for the car wash establishment. Telecom DRI requires a 100-foot setback from wetlands, and the LDC also has wetland setbacks. However, both do not differentiate between wetlands along the river and isolated wetlands. Staff has no objection to the request. The applicant is also requesting to obtain the building permits and plat the property before CO, instead of platting the property first before permitting. In this specific case, staff has no objections, and this will help the completion of the last 2 lots of the PD. Site C will come before you at a later point, and that will be the last lot being developed. Here are the elevations for the car wash and the signage approved by DRC and the signage locations. DRC recommends approval of the final site plan. Community Development recommends City Council approve the first reading and schedule a second reading and public hearing for November 19th with the following conditions. 1, the final site plan shall allow for a car wash on Site B of the planned development as delineated on the final site plan, date stamped, received July 9th, 2024 by the Planning and Development Division. Construction and installation shall take place in accordance with the criteria and requirements of the City of Temple Terrace Land Development Code unless specifically outlined within these conditions. 2, the replat must be recorded prior to certificate of occupancy. 3, building elevations are bound by the elevations date stamped July 9, 2024, and signage shall follow the sign package date stamped August 15, 2024. 4, the project must have a setback of at least 8 feet or greater to the jurisdictional wetland line. 5, site plan expiration per 12/3/80. 6, the building will be required to install a fire alarm system. And 7, where standards are not specified, the Land Development Code standards will apply. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Anaya. Are there members of the public who wish to speak on this? Is the applicant here?
I didn't see them.
Did you wish to say anything, sir?
I can answer questions if you'd like.
Okay, very well. Okay, council members, questions? Yes, Councilmember Schisler.
Yes, thank you. Nice presentation, thank you. Now, this issue came before us several years ago, and I was wondering whatever happened to it. But one of the questions that I had back then was potential pollution mitigation to the pond behind the property. I don't remember how that was addressed at that point. Could anybody, I mean, it's right up against it. Special water collection processes, or what the proposal is to protect that land back there?
I don't know the answer to that, but I can follow up with you.
I think the applicant would like to maybe respond to that. Thank you, Ms. Anaya. Just need your name for the record, sir.
Good evening, Garrett Poston with Rail Engineering.
Okay.
The pond that's behind the property is actually designed for the pollution abatement of the entire master development. So we've demonstrated to SwiftMud that we fall within those parameters that it was designed for, and that's how the pollution abatement is happening.
Do we anticipate much runoff into this, or we're going to get a lot of soapy water flowing back there where we're going to get algae blooms and so forth, or?
Oh, so the car wash water goes through its own reclamation system inside the tunnel of the car wash.
Okay, that's the answer. That's what I was looking for. Okay, cool. All right, good. Thank you.
So I have a follow-up on that. So I know that most of that water stays in the tunnel and it goes down and then is reclaimed. But there must be a limit to how many times you can reuse the water before it starts to get kind of.
Right. After that, it will go into the sanitary sewer system.
Okay. And the chemicals used in this process, I mean, this thing's permitted, so I'm assuming that the sewer system is able to neutralize those chemicals.
Yeah, we'll have an FDEP permit as well for the sanitary sewer system.
Okay. I had similar questions. Thank you. Other questions for staff or the applicant?
I do.
Yes, Councilmember Fernandez.
So I have a couple questions. I'm not sure who the person to answer them, but so my first question is, Fletcher, as a road, I think the road grade is a D, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of traffic rating. So I just want to know, I mean, I know there are factors in place that allow us to develop this property, but I just want to know how make sure that we are able to do the developments that we need to do at the same time when, in the past, Fletcher's traffic counts have been exceeding Fletcher's capacity.
So when this master development was originally proposed, That's when they did initial traffic counts. We've submitted a traffic application as well that shows that we are within those limits.
Okay, so I'm not opposed to the project, I'm just making sure that we're not gonna run up some kind of problem with the traffic counts on Fletcher. And it's not a city street, and the city doesn't have control of it. All right, so can we go back to the wetland setback? And so my questions about that are, so I understand that the pond that's on that property is specifically designed to capture runoff and keep that out of the wetlands. But I thought that we had a larger required setback from the wetlands than 8 feet. So I just want to make sure that if we're dropping this down to 8 feet, I mean, we've just had a discussion about how much flooding has happened in the city. Are we going to be impacting the wetlands in a negative fashion? And two, are we going to be impacting the overall water retention and increased flooding for buildings or neighborhoods in that area?
So along the lines of flooding, it would be in the same category as the pollution abatement. That pond has been master planned to accommodate the amount of impervious surface that we're going to place on the site. With the wetland, actually, when it was originally done, the entire wetland was permitted for impacts, and all the mitigation was put in place to allow that entire impact. Later on, the developer elected not to go all the way into the wetland and left some of that and stopped their impacts at the southern property line. So there is no, on paper, wetland left. There is one in the real world, but it's all been permitted for impacts in the past.
Okay, so with this property that we're looking at, is this the last property in that particular area of the development, or is there one next to it?
Yes, there's one more, and that's the one next to it.
Okay, so basically then when this property was originally platted or planned for development, all of the factors that needed to be put in place for drainage for the entire parcel were put in place at that time.
That's correct.
So no individual build has to put additional remediation or drainage capacity.
That's correct. You would have to demonstrate that you are within the available capacity of the existing pond.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay, other questions, council members? If there are no other questions, I'll close the public hearing. Thank you so very much, Mr. Poston, Mr. Naya, and I'll ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
A resolution of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, approving final site plan SPR 24-03 for a car wash for property located on the southeast corner of East Fletcher Avenue and Telecom Drive, lying in Section 11, Township 28, Range 19, part of Folio 199554-0732, subject to any conditions of approval applied by the City Council, providing for correction of typographical errors, repealing all resolutions or parts of resolutions in conflict herewith, and providing for an effective date.
Good, thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion?
Move to approve on first public hearing, resolution adopting final site plan for property located at Site B of the Woodstock Plaza plat, portfolio number 199554-0732.
Second.
And if you could add to that it's subject to the conditions as set forth by staff.
Subject to conditions as set forth by staff.
Second.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Schoen. So we have a motion, a second. Discussion of the motion. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. The resolution is adopted and will appear for second public hearing on November 19th, 2024. Thank you, Mr. Poston. Thank you, Mr. Nye. Next is a second public hearing of a resolution adopting the final site plan for property located at 8702 Overlook Drive. I'll open the public hearing, and our planner, city planner Malik Hall is here to explain. Good evening.
Good evening. So we are here for the second hearing for 8702 Overlook Drive, also known as Overlook 2. The property is a little under half an acre. Zone plan development is located in the community redevelopment area with a future land use of downtown mixed use 35. There are single family residences to the north, south, and west of the property, and multifamily to the east. The property to the east is Overlook 1. That was their first project in this area. They're proposing 4 buildings with 2 units per building to equal 8 townhomes. DRC supports approval with a few conditions. The plans for the plan development are the ones submitted October 4th, 2024, date stamped. The proposed waiver for the approval would be to waive item 2 of section 12-1055. That's for a visibility triangle that's interior to the property. The visibility triangle is obstructed by the building. However, there's no visibility issues within the right-of-way. It's just an interior landscaping triangle. But because of the actual regulations within the CRA, they can build that close to the lot line. So it's just a matter of a conflicting that needs to be corrected via waiver. Then the actual elevations are bound by the elevations estimated for Ordinance 1565, which was the rezoning for this property. The plating process is held to the regulations of the Land Development Code, and the city engineer must approve stormwater pond and conveyance systems prior to issuance of building permits. Site plan expiration is held to the Land Development Code in section 12-380, and where standards are not specified, the city code will apply. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Is the applicant present? Are you guys here for, would you like to say anything, sir? Or? Okay, thank you, sir. Council members, are there questions? Councilmember Fernandez.
So my question is about drainage. And I'm asking because I know that every project that is approved to be built in the city has to have a drainage plan. And I know that there's some concern that residents have expressed that new development is the cause of some drainage issues that they experience. So I just wanted to see if you could actually explain the calculation process and that the building part of this process is making sure that this development has adequate drainage so as not to impact other locations.
This question would probably be better suited for the applicant if they have any. Thank you so much.
That's one of the conditions of approval.
Yeah. It's not.
It's one of the conditions of approval.
This question isn't necessarily for me to be able to approve it. This is so that we can just have this in a public format so that people can see the process.
Michael Leaks, 8725 Twin Lakes Boulevard, Florida. The drainage issue, so it is a underground exfiltration system, which is basically all of the water from the buildings, all of the impervious areas is contained on the site. So it does not exit to the system, only if that system, which is like the 500-year event, should overflow, it's designed for that. So that's if you're not familiar with that system, it's the rock system. It's kind of similar to what like a Walgreens does, and it's completely underground. It's under the driveway. All of the gutters for the buildings drain to that system before it ever leaves the property.
So is it actually basically an underground retention pond?
Effectively.
And then where does that water actually go once it's been drained to that location?
It perks, the property perks, so it goes back to the earth.
So it just drops back into the aquifer?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Again, it's not for me to say, I know it's part of the approval process. I just wanted to make sure people understand that as the process of approving any development in the city, the drainage and the capacity and the whole the process of handling the rainfall, et cetera, is part of the approval process, so that's it.
We've done several of these, and those systems are kind of expansive, that the water never leaves the site.
Thank you.
All right, any others?
Thank you, sir. Council members, are there other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, if none, I'll close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the resolution.
A resolution of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, approving site plan review application 24-06 for .404 acres of real property within the downtown community redevelopment area located approximately 1,140 feet south of the intersection of Overlook Drive and Bush Boulevard, with an address of 8702 Overlook Drive, folio number 201600-0000, to allow for a new multifamily residential development in a planned development zoning district, providing an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion?
I move to approve a resolution adopting the final site plan for property located at 8702 Overlook Drive upon second public hearing and reading.
Subject to conditions, please.
Subject to conditions outlined by staff.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion of the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. Resolution is adopted. Thank you, gentlemen. Next is a second public hearing of a resolution adopting a final site plan for property located at 8727 Overlook Drive. I'll open the public hearing, and planner Malik Hall is here to explain. Good evening. Welcome back.
Good evening again. Very similar. So for this one, it's the second hearing of 8727 Overlook Drive. This is known as Overlook 3. So this property is a little bit over half an acre, and its zone plan development is located in community redevelopment area, and is just north of Overlook 2. It has single-family residences to the south and west, and a cemetery to the east. The parcel of the cemetery extends over to the north. So what it is as far as the lot for the whole cemetery is to the north and east of the property, but the cemetery itself is to the east. It's vacant land to the north. Similar to Overlook 2, just a different configuration. 4 buildings with 2 units per building to equal 8 townhomes with similar conditions. With these conditions, DRC supports approval. The planned development is held to the final site plan that's date stamp proceed October 4th, 2024. The building elevations are bound by elevations as submitted for ordinance 1564, which is the rezoning for this project. And the plating process is held to the land development code. Once again, similar conditions. City engineer must approve stormwater pond and conveyance system prior to issuance of building permits. Site plan exploration is outlined in section 12-380 of land development code. And where standards are not specified, Temple Terrace Land Development Code will apply. And that is all I have.
Thank you. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Petitioner, would you like to say anything, sir? Or?
No, thank you.
Okay, very good. Council members, are there questions?
I have one.
Councilmember Fernandez, yes, they're going to take stormwater.
That's
They're going to deal with the stormwater, I promise.
I know, that's not, but again, I wasn't asking for my edification. I was asking to make sure that people in the public know, because they don't necessarily see all of this. But just this, regarding, this one is going to have a surface retention pond proposed. Who will actually be responsible for maintaining the retention pond? Will this property have an HOA?
Yes, applicant said it will have HOA.
Okay, so the HOA will actually be responsible for, it won't be a city-owned retention pond.
That's correct. It will be owned by, it would be the common area of the HOA, so that it's fee simple. The plat will be fee simple, and that'll be considered a common area that the HOA will maintain.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions, council members? Okay. If not, I will close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the resolution.
A resolution of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, approving the site plan review application 24-07 for .545 acres of real property within the downtown community redevelopment area, located approximately 540 feet south of the intersection of Overlook Drive and Bush Boulevard, with an address of 8727 Overlook Drive, folio numbers 201-594-0000 and 201-593-0000, to allow for a single-family residential townhome development in a planned development zoning district, providing an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion to approve the resolution subject to staff's recommended conditions?
Move to approve subject to, excuse me, move to approve resolution for adopting final site plan for a property located at 8727 Overlook Drive, subject to the stated conditions.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion of the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. Resolution is adopted. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you, staff. Appreciate it. Good job tonight. Is there any carryover council business from previous meetings? Anything, council? I don't have anything. New business or board reports? Talked about the Arts Festival.
Arts Festival, Trot Through the Terrace.
Trot Through the Terrace is coming up.
You want to talk to, tell,
Trot Through the Terrace will be held on Saturday, the 9th, River Hills Park, meandering through the streets of Temple Terrace south of Bullard Parkway. Due to the flooding, we've canceled we've abbreviated the 10K, which used to go go north of Bullard, and it'll be twice through the 5K due to the potential flooding with the tunnels, with the water table so high. There's signs all over town. It's run.com. So anybody who's interested, please do it. It's a fundraiser for Terrace Community Middle School, and this will be the 12th year that it's been run. So I invite everybody to attend.
Good. Thank you, council member.
And one comment about the Art Festival.
Sure.
We thought we would lose some artists, but with the artists that were shut out of some other events or canceled, it's the most we've had in many years, 174 artists.
Wow.
And crafters, so it's much bigger than last year.
That's terrific.
And again, thank you, city and all the staff for making Woodmont Avenue and all that usable for us.
Good, thank you. Any other new business or board reports? Okay. City manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. In your backup this evening, you have the status report for the persons to be heard request that the mayor alluded to earlier. This is for the fourth quarter of fiscal year '24. If you have any questions on anything in that report, I'm happy to answer those now.
Council? Very good. I really enjoy this report. It's very, closes the loop on us. It keeps things from dropping off and falling through the cracks. So thank you for, I know you started this right when you got here, but it really is an improvement. So thank you.
You're welcome. I do have several other items this evening. The first of which is, we're talking about stormwater a lot this evening. As council will recall, actually one of the residents cited the meeting from last August of '23, where the council had a discussion about the stormwater project for East 127th Avenue. At the time in that report, you would have seen one of the options that we had looked at was potentially acquiring some of the properties in order to raise the properties and build a retention pond, because that is the low point in the neighborhood. That wasn't feasible at that moment in time. We didn't get the impression that that was going to be a good idea, because the residents were living in those houses, and it didn't seem like that was going to be an avenue that was going to provide much success. So we went with an alternate plan, which was what was approved by the council. At this point, things have changed somewhat. We have one, if not two, property owners that may be amenable to a sale. And one of the property owners happens to be a city employee. So because of that, what I would like to propose to the council is, if you would like us to pursue this, we have reached out to an outside law firm who has experience in real estate law and real estate transactions like this. Actually, in fact, they've worked for Hillsborough County as well as for the Hillsborough School District in managing their real estate transactions. And this law firm would be Gray Robinson, well-known firm in Tampa. The two people that would be involved in this transaction are two of their senior partners, who typically, I'm almost amazed to say this, earn bill $650 an hour, In this case, for us, they would be doing it for $250 an hour. There'd be manageable caps. This would be an expense that we could control pretty closely. But it would eliminate any conflict of interest. They would they reach out to the property owners, any kind of appraisal, negotiations and whatnot. They'd be handling that on our behalf with direction from myself. So I'd like to know if council's amenable to doing that. I'd recommend we consider this because we do have an opportunity here to at least see if this would work for both parties.
So council, we would need a motion, but if you want to enter into discussion first, that's fine. So, is there discussion? Discussion? Okay, and if there's no discussion, then we would need a motion to authorize city manager to.
Move to authorize city manager to enter into the overall process that's needed to facilitate this project.
Second.
Motion, discussion of the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays? Mr. Beath?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Next item I have is, as the council may have become aware of last week, Florida College issued a press release concerning Sutton Hall. Sutton Hall is a very well-known historic building in our community that belongs to Florida Colleges on their campus. Prior to issuing the press release, the college president and members of his executive team had actually met with myself and members of our team to indicate that they had contemplated saving this building, preserving this building. They were actually doing a soft launch of a fundraising campaign, and as part of that, they had a study done of the building by a engineering architectural firm as well as a development company looked at it. And what they discovered in that study was that the building, in their synopsis, was not salvageable. They asked us for direction in terms of they would like to engage with the community. They know this is an asset that a lot of people cherish, so they would like to find a way to do that. What I suggested to them is that I would bring it up this evening and see if council would entertain having the president of the college and whoever else on his team make a presentation to the city council at your next meeting on November 19th. And then if the council wished to give them direction on other groups that maybe they should meet with, I think they're very much open to that, according to what Dr. Weaver has told me. But they would like to start here at the council if possible.
Council members, discussion?
It's a good idea. At least everybody has an opportunity to see what's happening.
My only concern, I mean, this is fine. We need to have the public engagement and have the discussion. My only concern is that the presentations happen at the beginning of the meeting and then the 3-minute public comment section happens after that. And I don't know what our agenda might look like at the meeting, but I could see, well, we have the 30-minute cap, but we might need it. Because that could become, and I'm just wondering if a town hall or something, but I guess that would be the appropriate first step. But there'd be a lot of questions from the public about it, I'm sure. And the meeting could easily become a meeting just on that. Yeah.
So I think the notion, and I'm speaking for Dr. Weaver here, so I'm taking a guess here. Based on his interaction with our team, I feel that they'd be open to, if we suggested a town hall as a next step, I think they would be amenable to that. I think the notion was if they're here, they can present it in a public forum, at least do their presentation, explain their version of what they found. It would be obviously live on YouTube and Facebook, and then it'd be archived so the public could see that as well on an ongoing basis or on demand. And whether they did a town hall, that could definitely be a topic of conversation that evening.
So that if they came here, let's see, we've had the benefit of knowing some of the things that they explained. How long did that take them to go through that full explanation when they met with you?
Say they're probably in 20 minutes, they could probably go through most of that.
Okay, so I'm not sure how our rules read. Anybody have any heartburn if we waive the 15-minute presentation rule for this? If they need 25 minutes or something, I mean, you have, I don't know what the rules say, whether I have the power to waive that or not, but
I have no problem.
no objection? Okay.
But I do have a thought with that.
Yeah.
I like that concept, but I think maybe for this issue, if they come to a town hall and the public wants to come to that town hall without really knowing what's going on, there could be the expectation that we could actually do something as a council and intercede on their behalf. That would be my concern, just doing a town hall. I like the idea of them coming here, giving the synopsis, and then we could schedule a town hall, and then that way the public would have a good idea as to, what are our limitations? We don't own the property. It's not a designated historical site, so there's very limited mediation that we could do. And then that way, go to the town hall meeting. If people want to come, and they can still address it. But I really would hate to open it to a town hall with the expectation, well, we can actually do something to stop it. That'd be my only concern with that. Presentation here, and then have the town hall be communicated well within the city, because the information would get out there very, very quickly. And it would be better attended, and maybe with a more suitable outcome to the whole thing.
Yeah, you guys are right. You're right.
Yeah, I would rather have them present here.
Yeah.
Because that also gives people time in the audience to formulate their questions or
Right.
their, whatever it is that they would like to ask or express, to be taken up then at the town hall. So that'd be my preference.
Okay.
But just so you know, I do have jury duty on the 19th, so if it goes long, I might be late.
And I have a question. Do we know potentially the date for swearing in mayor and council?
December. Second meeting in December.
Okay.
Second meeting in December?
Thought it was first meeting after the ratification. Second? We changed it?
You
Second.
changed it.
The second meeting after ratification.
Okay.
Okay, so we're good with Florida College coming here to the council. And then we could discuss a town hall follow-up depending on how it
Sure.
goes. And
Uh-huh.
okay. And we're also comfortable if we need to waive it. I'd hate to, something of this magnitude, I'd hate to tell them you got 15 minutes. I mean, I think we need to give them the time to fully explain.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, okay.
And the final item I have this evening, actually, if I could ask our Public Works Director, Mr. Warrenfeld, to come up to give us an update, please, on the debris collection process.
Mr. Warrenfeld.
Mayor?
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Hanging in there?
Yes, sir.
Good. How are your folks? How are your troops?
They're good.
Everybody's doing well?
Couple weekends of rest here, a
Good.
little bit. They're doing well.
Good.
So, Mayor, City Council, thank you. Jason Warfeld, your Public Works Director. To elaborate a little bit on the 15,000 tree number, 15,000 is a best guess that we're looking at for fallen or lost trees, significantly damaged or damaged pending removal. This is anywhere from inch-round recently planted to grand trees, the significant ones. So 15,000, downgraded from the initial 18 to 20,000 I originally thought, but some of them have viability once we start trimming through them. We started trimming a few trees last week, Thursday, Friday, and they look good under there. We just got to trim out some of the damage. So debris. So we're on day 20. Today was day 22 of the debris collection. We are just shy of 80,000 cubic yards of debris collected. There's a couple. The photos. Do you have the photos? So I had the drone fly over the site today, the Harney Road site. Couple photos here for the council just to view.
Everybody's watching. She's gonna blush.
So here we go. So this is looking towards the south of the Harney Road site. That's what 80,000 cubic yards of tree debris looks like that we removed so far. So that is looking to the north from over the vacant parcel, the M&B product parcel. So, so far, we've maxed, we've had 50 trucks running through the city. That's the max. We're starting to downgrade. I think we had 25 today, so we're half. We anticipate collection to continue through the month of November. We will start doing second round in Zone 1, Zone 3, and Zone 4 on Monday, November 11th. So we'll start doing the second round in those 3 zones. Zone 2 is the center part of the city, and debris is still pretty heavy near the golf course. A lot of large trees over there. They averaged, in the 22 days with 80,000, they averaged about 3,300 cubic yards a day. So it's a little slow in the beginning. We still had a lot of trees to remove from roadways to get it to where it's manageable, and some of it's still not manageable, but the crews are working on that. So that is the debris update at this point. So, and I'll get the numbers to marketing to do an update, a public update as far as where we're at.
Might include that photograph.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's probably not a bad idea to put that out to, questions for Mr. Warrenfells? Yes,
Yes.
Councilmember Fernandez.
So we've been focusing on the tree debris, but what about the other debris from like the soaked carpet or things that got damaged that aren't trees?
So there's an added step for that material. The city engineer and I are working on soil testing. We have to do a pre and a post for our sites to do soil testing. So soil testing request was sent out last week. I don't have the results back yet, but as soon as I get those, then we'll start the trucks to do the household items, the construction, the debris items. We don't anticipate more than 10 to 15 loads, probably, I'm going to say maybe 5 to 10,000 cubic feet of that type of debris. So that's a very small portion of it. The vegetative is the largest, and we opted to move that first.
So will the non-vegetative debris, will that go to the same location that you're staging all the tree debris?
It will not. Because of the urgency to move the tree debris, that's the Harney Road site, and then we opened a second site on Temple Terrace Highway with some work with the Florida College folks. Neither one of those sites were able to be tested prior to. We are testing a site on 113th Street. We've worked with the school district to get permission to use that site. As soon as we can get the testing done, then we'll haul the debris there. And as I said, it's a small amount compared to the vegetative debris. So we expect it to go in, be processed, and be turned right around and disposed of. That material has to be taken to a landfill. It cannot be taken to the incinerator, just because if there's any molds or contaminants in that, they do not want to put that in the air. So it will be buried.
For the current debris sites, the one on 301, that's at the pony baseball fields and the soccer fields?
No.
Okay.
So we opted to do a self drop-off for residents at the 301, the sports complex. That was only for Hurricane Helene. We had moved that debris, we hauled it out, most of it. The remaining debris that we hauled in from Hurricane Milton, we have since hauled that over to the Harney Road site.
Okay, so the only reason I'm asking is because I know that there are soccer teams and baseball teams that use that space, and I wanted to find out what the limitations were for them.
They are wide open. Mr. Langfeld and I, we worked on that. He pried and I got him cleaned up, so we're good.
All right, thank you.
Other questions? Councilmember Schisler.
Yeah, fencing material, I noticed that they're segregating it. Will that go with the other household stuff?
The buildings. Some of it they picked up if it wasn't a lot of metals in it. So if they didn't see a lot of screws or nails or gate hinges, they would take it with the tree debris. They can process some of that.
That was
but all that goes in a tub grinder, so it becomes mulch. So if they saw a lot of metals in it, they would let it lay. But yes, it'll go with the construction and the demolition debris material.
That makes sense. Mine got left behind. The last question is the normal debris from the week-to-week grass cuttings and so forth. People keep asking when we're going to initiate that again. I know you guys are busy, but people keep asking, and we just,
So normal yard debris, well, so for the hurricanes, anything in a container or bagged, the contractors will not pick up. They can't verify what's in the top or in the bottom of the container or what's in the bag. So they were letting all that behind. The sanitation department has been running silently. They've been trying to go around and collect those bags and empty those cans so that they can get ahead of when we turn them loose to do regular collection. Regular collection will resume on Wednesday this week, citywide. They picked up a fair amount on Saturday. They ran around and did some collecting bags and cans just to try and get ahead of the rush. The contractors go through and they pick the bulk of the material up, but they do not rake the fine leaves. They do not rake the grasses up. So residents that collect those, put them in bags, put them in cans. Wednesday will be regular yard debris collection, and it'll continue.
And so I have a question, not to put you on the spot here, but this isn't my first storm since I've been in office, and it happens every time. And so there are some members of the public who use this as an opportunity for annual pickup. And so there are people who clean out their sheds, their garages, they clean out stuff, and not homes that flooded, that's understandable, but they use this as, oh, we're doing a special collection for the whole city. And the hurricane cleanup goes on forever because new piles keep appearing, and it's piles of furniture. I mean, in my neighborhood, I've seen 2 mountains as big as the house of furniture. It can't even be from one single home. It's got to be from multiple homes that they've come and piled this up. And that's not hurricane. If that was a flood stuff, it would have been out there within a few days. It's not flood stuff. We need the public's help in this, and this just slows us down. It slows down the collection for everybody else because now we're dealing with people who are abusing the system. So any ideas you have about how to kind of manage this in the future would certainly be appreciated, because this has happened every storm we've had. This is the worst one that I've seen, but all the ones we've had before, it's 3 weeks after the storm and all these piles just keep growing and growing. The contractors have been through the neighborhood 3 times, and now there's new stuff out. This could go on for a year if we don't at some point say enough. You can't keep hauling more stuff out here. So any ideas that you might have would, just so this is not the first time this has happened. And I don't know if you're picking up this mountains of stuff in my neighborhood, but I hope you're not. So. Anyway, okay.
You not said a word.
Anything else? No. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Warren. Thank you very much for everything that you and your staff, I don't know if that filters down to everybody, but your employees are amazing. You're not the only ones, but they're amazing.
Thank you.
I know I said that was my final thing, but just one more thing, if you'll allow me, is Mr. Warrenfeld's alluded to it. He mentioned Florida College and the Hillsborough County School District. I want to make sure that it's on the record. I want to thank them very, very much because they came to our aid a couple of weeks ago. Mr. Warrenfeld was already predicting we're going to have 120,000 cubic yards of debris, and we cannot fit it all at the Harney Road site. And to your question, Councilmember Fernandez, about 301, we also didn't want to damage 301 and be disruptive to all the leagues that use that facility. So we're a small city. We don't have a whole lot of properties. So that became an urgent cry for help. We reached out to a number of folks who had land in the community. Everybody took our call. Everybody tried to help us. And Florida College was able to make land available on Temple Terrace Highway very quickly. And they said, use it how you like. They were very good to us. And I also want to thank Marie Whalen, the Chief of Staff at the Hillsborough County Schools, because she, again, right away, within 24 hours, we had an agreement with the Hillsborough County School District to use their property on 113th Avenue. So, again, we couldn't do this without the great partners we have. So just want to thank them.
If it's up to you, but if you'd like to have Jeannie prepare the appropriate language in the letters, I would be happy to send those entities letters to the chair of the school board or Van Ayers or whoever it is, and Florida College, probably M&B Products would be a good one to also, and any other ones that you might know. I know we tried to keep track of some of the significant, but if she could if you don't mind having her draft something, I'd be happy to come by and sign them.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for that. That's all I have.
I have one question.
Sure.
If I may. Particularly in light of the fact with the flooding comments we had tonight, as well as flooding all over the city. We had issues here and there. I know you guys are meeting on this on a somewhat regular basis, trying to get to the bottom of it. How can we do this so that we as other council members can either participate, become involved with it if necessary, if nothing else, just know what else is happening? Because I really don't like to say, I don't know, when we hear about this flooding, flooding on Pilar or anywhere. I don't like to tell a constituent or a neighbor that I don't know, I have to get back to you. Is there any way we as council members, without, I recognize sunshine and everything else, but I don't know if there's a way to do this. I'm willing to do whatever I need to do to help.
I have it on my list also. I was going to call you, so.
So, if I may? Sure. So there's a couple of things going on here, I think concurrently right now. The flooding issue was a regional issue. I'm sure there were, as the gentleman mentioned, there's been a slight history here with that property there, but it was so widespread throughout the county that the Hillsborough County Commission has authorized a study, and they're going to include Temple Terrace along with the other two cities as well as the unincorporated parts of the county to look at root causes of stormwater and flooding and those matters, and then hopefully look at some solutions, because we were pumping water and water was coming back, and everybody's going through that. Despite the fact we had unfortunate instances here with homes having suffered water damage, if you look at University Park on the other side of the University Mall, that area, they had 3 or 4 feet of water. I mean, people were, all over the place kayaking and whatnot. So we are not able to look at this issue, I think, in my opinion. You can't look at it in just like a microscope. It's not just a Temple Terrace thing. And if we look at one pond at Temple Terrace, they're all connected. All these ponds are connected. The river has a big part to play in this as well. So there will be that study that we're learning more in communication with the county administrator's office to figure out how that will develop. And we will, however that develops, I will keep the council informed as to what comes from that and how it's going. The other part, as I mentioned, was the after-action meeting we're going to have with our team. We'll be looking at the flooding issues that we know about, like might be more historical issues or our experience here. As I mentioned, the staff was going around and trying to keep all the pumps going, and we had generators at some, and we had to keep pumping those generators, keep the fuel going and whatnot. So we'll have a synopsis of at least what happened, and we can have some recommendations. So we'll share those with City Council also. And then if we have any sort of program going forward that comes out of that, for example, if there are capital improvements down the road that we need to suggest, obviously we're going to have to come through council for those. And so we'll be proposing things, we may be proposing things to you related to that. They may be things we want to address in this current budget, or they may be things we put in the 26 budget, and we talk about those during the budget prep and the budget workshops. And if there's, like I said, if there's other means that you'd like to pursue in terms of getting involved, just give me a call directly, and we'll have those conversations. And if we can find common ground, we'll figure something out.
Will do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And to that, also not to prolong the discussion, but it occurs to me that sometimes things move so fast that we don't always, so at the same time that the county voted to commission this study that Carlos was talking about, there's been some discussion who would be included in that, and I've been working very hard to try to encourage, particularly Tampa, to participate fully in that study, which may mean that the county expects them to pay for a portion of it, but I think this is a bigger problem. You can't isolate water. Water doesn't know where one city starts and another one ends. I also had a conversation with DOT. They have a piece of this, and they have some concerns that I didn't even think about concerning some of the system that's on their properties and outfalls. As we know, we got a lot of water from Pasco that we normally don't get via Cypress Creek, which comes into the river below the bypass canal, so it's not regulated. There's a lot to talk about here. There's the silt levels on the bottom of the river. How deep is the silt? Is that a factor in the capacity of the river? There's a lot of and I've also been talking with Jay Collins, Senator Collins, about this, who wants to kind of do a regional hot wash of these things. So there's a lot of things going on right now. The legislature, the president of the Senate is going to devote I think the whole session is going to be about hurricane and resiliency. I don't think they're going to talk about anything else at the next session. So there's a lot going on. But yes, your point's well taken. City Attorney,
I have nothing to report.
nothing to report. Directors, you guys all right? Recovering? Your staff doing okay? Is there anything the council needs to do for your staff? Let us know. Okay. If there's nothing else, we will be adjourned.